the season as a whole to set up for what we talk about on Sunday. So, Hornets fans worldwide, because we have worldwide fans now thanks to LaMelo Ball.
What just happened?
I don't know what to say about
what just happened. What just happened here?
Man, there's a lot. There's a lot and a little to talk about at the same time. There's a lot to talk about, but I'm speechless after witnessing the shellacking the Charlotte Hornets just took from the Indiana Pacers in the first ever NBA play-in tournament game. The Charlotte Hornets lost to the Indiana Pacers 117-144 in Indiana, getting outscored in the first quarter 24-40, and never even came close to making it a game. They did win the fourth quarter, standout players, none really. Although Cody Zeller had his usual good game against Indiana. Miles Bridges had a good game. Everyone else was just basura. Everyone else trash. Just garbage. Malik Monk actually didn't have a terrible game off the bench, but they needed, they needed a lot from a lot of people on both ends of the floor. And Jamal, I'll let you take it from there. There's a lot to talk about here. Just
do you remember what I said specifically? Do you remember the two players I called out specifically Sunday? By any chance, you remember those two players I talked about? In case you don't,
Terry Rozier.
No. I said if we don't get anything from Malik Monk and PJ Washington, we have no chance of winning this game. Malik Monk, thank you for showing up finally. The season's over. Too little, too late. PJ Washington. If that wasn't the most piss poor, disgraceful defensive effort, and I use quotation marks when I say effort because there was hardly any effort out there tonight, that was absolutely disgraceful. 3 for 10, 8 points, 7 boards, minus 26 plus minus. Look, man, when you lose by 97 points, it's kind of silly to come down on one player. I get that. But here's why I'm so hard on PJ tonight, man. I'm going to tell you just something I noticed, Kaz, and I want you to kind of let me know if you saw the same thing. PJ Washington got beat on about 6 back cuts tonight. As useless as he was offensively, he was that much more useless defensively tonight. Some guy named Brissett, who I've never heard of in my life before, goes off on PJ Washington tonight. Again, I hate having smoke for one guy when you get beat by 90 points, but PJ Washington is going to get this smoke specifically because we needed him down the stretch. He didn't deliver. Look, we are a show. We offer context. I know it's been a rough season. I know the things that have gone on in PJ's personal life, may have led to some of his performances. But damn it, man, it's the playoffs, man. You got to show up, bro.
Got to show up. Yeah, that was disappointing because, I first of all, I've been on the PJ bandwagon ever since day one of 27 points. I said, that kid's special. And I know the season's been tough for him. A sophomore year where he's been asked to play out of position at the 5. I understand that, but you at least got to give the effort. And if he's going out there and he's giving a defensive effort and it's just not working, that's fine. Then that's on the coach to make the proper adjustments. But you're not even doing that. So eventually the coach did say, okay, Cody Zeller. Who knew that Cody Zeller would be the answer to Sabonis? But PJ just he wasn't getting it done. And offensively, he's fallen in this weird. He's fallen into the Frank Kaminsky zone. Remember, Frank Kaminsky essentially had 2 options on offense: shoot the 3
or drive to the basket.
Drive to the basket when you really don't have that skill set. That's what PJ Washington is, and it's unfortunate because if his 3's not falling, then he tries these weird post-up moves that don't work. He's not a 5.
And let me interrupt you real quick, man. Do you remember back in the playoffs a couple of years ago, when we played Miami, and I think it was MJ and Patrick Ewing suggested to Clifford, "Hey man, why don't you post Kaminsky more?"
Post up Frank Kaminsky, and they
And
did.
You see how it works.
Kaminsky had 15 points that game, and the Hornets won.
Right.
Sometimes, yeah.
Could we not see the same thing for PJ?
Well, I don't think Borrego is really a post up kind of guy.
Right.
Either, though, because unfortunately, the Hornets are not actually, I like the fact they're not a half court team. They run up and down the court. You start throwing post in there, players will get reliant on it. It slows the pace of the game down. It's one of those things that may be difficult to work into James Borrego's system. But I'm saying that really, it just came down to effort. I could live with the Hornets missing shots or just losing to a better team. But on paper, the Hornets were a better team. They were healthier. They should have won this game. They didn't, because everyone that says, well, the Hornets should just tank because they're just going to get knocked out in the first round anyway as a 7 or 8 seed, this is one of the reasons why that argument is BS. You need that playoff experience. You got to have it. Indiana treated this like a playoff game, because that's essentially what it is, a postseason game, and they came out ready. The Hornets did not. And Borrego is going to get a heap of criticism for this game. And everyone on the Hornets, from Borrego on down to whoever, they deserve to eat some of this shit sandwich. But guys, this ain't like a sports movie. James Borrego can't go out there and fire up the troops and get them ready to play. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. This isn't your AAU league and a bunch of teenagers you're trying to will to win the regional championships. That's not what this is. This is the NBA. These are professional basketball players. A lot of them have been in big game situations before from their college time. It's not up to James Borrego to have to tell these guys, hey guys, if you don't win this game, you will go home. I don't know what else JB could have done from that standpoint to get the Hornets ready. Schematically, I do think that he made a mistake starting Bismack Biyombo instead of Cody Zeller.
But listen, you see how quick he pulled Biz off the
floor.
Yeah,
I think he realized, okay, that was a mistake. And while I understand why he started Biz, because we knew that defensively we would have to stop Sabonis and do better in the paint, which Biz is better at. But I think Zeller's size gave Sabonis some problems, and he did make that adjustment fairly quickly. From a pure X's and O's standpoint, I don't think Borrego did anything wrong. Guys are missing open shots. This is where the players got to execute. They just do what they're supposed to do. They didn't.
Yeah, no. Let me speak to your point a little more, man. Like you said, man, this ain't Hoosiers. You got guys making $15-20 million a game. If you can't get fired up for this game, then you don't need to be out there, man. It's that simple. I mean, seriously, it's that simple, man. I want to talk more about the effort, because that is the most surprising and disappointing thing that I saw tonight, man. And not to be repetitive, but I'm giving PJ Washington a lot of smoke, man. But it was a lot of guys. Like I saw a lot of jogging back. I saw no physicality tonight, no physicality whatsoever. But here's something very alarming that I saw tonight. Let me know if you saw the same thing, man. That ball ain't moved. The ball wasn't moving like it did when we were winning. I saw a lot of guys trying to do it by themselves. I saw a lot of LaMelo trying to do it by himself. I saw a lot of Terry Rozier. Let me give y'all a quick stat real quick. Terry Rozier and LaMelo Ball, they were 11 for 34 tonight. Charlotte Hornets cannot win if you're getting that from those two guys, man. So just wanted to see if you noticed kind of the same thing, man. A lot of guys.
As much as I love Terry Rozier as a Charlotte Hornet, I love Terry Rozier.
Real quickly, man. Terry Rozier is 0 for 9 from 3 tonight.
Woo! I bet he hates that and looking at that stat. But as much as I love Terry Rozier as a Hornet, there is nobody on this team that is good enough to where you could play hero ball. There's nobody on this team that can do like what Russell Westbrook did to Charlotte a few games ago. LaMelo Ball might be there one day, but even someone like Gordon Hayward, who who can sometimes do a pretty good job of closing the other team out. There's nobody, though, where you can be like, okay, nothing else working. Just give the ball to that guy. You know who is going to be that guy? Miles Bridges. He's the only person who came out there and was like, yo, I'm not going to let these cats pump me. I mean, he was out there hooping every play, played 37 minutes, most of the entire team. And it's a shame that his effort wasn't rewarded. LaMelo Smoke is allowed tonight.
Tonight it is.
Now look. Well, he didn't. He looked like he was like
out of it.
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
But this is. I think that the Hornets are tired. They're tired. They're fatigued.
Now
pile up. You play 8-9 man rotations for 30-something straight games. You're gonna get tired.
Now, here's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up, man, because I talked to Vince tonight, man, and I asked him the same question I'm going to ask you. The narrative that this team is out of gas, how much credence do you give that, being that other teams play the same amount of games that the Hornets do? Now, is that because of depth? What do you specifically contribute to us, quote unquote, being out of gas? Now, before you answer that question, Kaiser, there are fans out there, and believe it or not, if it sounds silly, it does, but there are fans who are going to specifically blame Gordon Hayward for this team being out of gas, because if he's not out there, then the guys are playing more minutes, and Terry Rozier is tired from carrying the Charlotte Hornets. What do you say to that?
So, first of all, real quick about Gordon Hayward. The last time he played, they played Indiana, and the Hornets won. How fitting. The Hornets also only won 7 games since his injury. That should tell you all you need to know about the value of Gordon Hayward to this team. But having said that, it's clear that, first of all, the Hornets were they were in the top 10 for 3-point shooting percentage in the league until fairly recently. They were the number 1 clutch team in the league until fairly recently. You don't get those kind of shooting drop-offs unless there is fatigue. And I know that we can say, well, other teams have fatigue too. Maybe they do, but I think that's the difference in a team like Philly or Brooklyn, because they can rest guys. Notice they have the good teams just rest guys. They rest their key players so that they're fresh at this point in the season. We've literally never had the opportunity to just rest anyone unless they had a significant injury. That counts when you're coming here down into the final stretch. And I haven't said that as far as tonight. Indiana was banged up too. They were missing guys, but I don't. The Hornets have been playing very hard the last week to try to get a win, and they couldn't. I mean, they had an overtime game against a good New York Knicks team, which they fought to the last second. They had a loss to Washington in a game where it was back and forth. Or Washington came back and clawed tooth and nail, and the Hornets ended up losing that heartbreaker. I think they were just. They were just tired. There's no other reason I can think of that those shots that would normally fall don't fall.
But here's the thing, and that makes perfect sense. That 100% makes perfect sense, man. But I have to go back to what I was observing on the defensive end. Man, some of that stuff on the defensive end.
Malcolm Brogdon set the tone, but was injured. He had a hurt hamstring. You know how many NBA players play with hurt hamstrings? It's different than a foot. NFL players played with hurt hamstrings. Hamstrings are an annoyance injury. They're not the same as a foot. So, I mean, there's a different – people got to put injuries into proper context, and that's something that Hornets fans – and I know that we haven't had a season injury-riddled season like this before. But injuries, you got to put into proper context. If you look at the injuries that Gordon Hayward, Monk had, those two – you turn your ankle like that, those are pretty significant injuries in the context of the NBA. So I don't like the whole, well, this guy played injured, so this guy needs to play injured. No, it does. Two completely different situations.
Yeah. But just going back to the question, man, defensively, man, was it all fatigue? You know what I mean? Because some of those mistakes just look like brain farts. Other than fatigue, some of that stuff just looked like not being focused. Now the jogging back and the not getting back on defense and not playing up to the pace, you could put that on fatigue. You could put that on running out of gas. But defensively, man, I don't think I can really excuse what I saw too much defensively tonight.
I think the Hornets, the players, not the coaches, the players underestimated the Pacers. They thought it was an easy win. They saw the injury report. They saw who was going to play. Clearly, the game plan was stop Sabonis because he's the Hornets killer, right?
I mean, in the first half, they were successful doing that.
Right. They were, but they didn't stop anybody else. And I think the players thought, okay, we execute this game plan. We stop Sabonis. We're good to go. And then Doug McDermott, nobody. If anyone says otherwise, I will find you and call you a liar to your face. Nobody knew Doug McDermott was going to have 20 points in the first quarter. 20 points. If you said Doug McDermott was going to have 20 points and shoot 4 for 5 from 3 in the first quarter,
you'd be lying.
You a liar. You a liar. So that's the thing. I think that the Hornets just underestimated the Pacers as a team. And instead of realizing, hey, we have a chance, instead of saying we have a chance to put our foot on the necks and take this game, they said, woo, this might be an easy one. And it was anything but.
Why do you think Caleb Martin didn't play tonight? Because am I crazy for thinking we could have used him tonight?
I don't know, man. Whose minutes does he get?
And I knew that question was coming, man, because it's a tough situation with Monk being back in the rotation. Now think about it this way, man. Monk wasn't really restoring a lot of confidence in the last week or so, and you know what Monk's liabilities are defensively. So the logical, I guess, choice would be to take Monk's minute. So is it one of those things where JB went with who he trusted more?
I think that this being, JB is a matchup coach, which most Hornets fans hate. And I think that JB felt that the Hornets would do better with offensive firepower rather than what Caleb Martin mostly brings defensively. With Caleb Martin, you might get a good offensive game, but I think he felt like Malik Monk was more valuable against the Pacers. Now, if the Pacers had been like full strength, I think we might have seen Cody or Caleb Martin in the game, but that's the only thing that I can think of. And this is going to be a good problem for the Hornets to have going into next season. I put Jalen McDaniels and Monk like right there. I think Monk's ceiling might be a little higher, but Jalen McDaniels already has the built-in size. He's a better defender. He can shoot a little bit.
Yeah. I kind of want to save some of the off-season stuff for Sunday because we'll have a ton to talk about.
We'll have months to talk about. Yeah, thanks,
so,
yeah.
We'll have so much to talk about when it comes to off-season stuff. And I'm looking at this, man, and like we stated, man, Bismack Biyombo starts the game and he gets yanked after 3 minutes and does not play the rest of the game. How telling was that?
Yeah, I was not really surprised because it was clear, like very early. Ooh, that's not gonna work. So, but it put the onus back on PJ. Like, okay, so now it's Cody Zeller and PJ rotating at the 5, and rotating at the 5, and PJ wasn't getting it done at the 5 today on either end. I'll say this about PJ on his off days where he's not playing well at the 5. Sometimes he'll give you like a good defensive game, and then sometimes if he's not doing good defensively, he gives you a good offensive game.
Right. He
did neither, and like you said before, it's hard. It's hard to place blame on one player because so many players, the Hornets players, played poorly today.
Yeah.
I think my biggest disappointment was probably Terry Rozier. This is why we brought Terry Rozier here. We need playoff Terry, right?
Right.
And if anyone on the team knows the stakes of a game like this, it would be Terry Rozier. And for him to come up short, it was really, really surprising. I mean, wide open threes he he would miss, and you could tell it was frustrating him. And I think that frustration may have got the best of him down the stretch.
I want to answer Joseph T. Wilson's question about, how this made me feel. I'm going to be very honest with you, Joseph. I probably checked out 3 games ago, and I didn't expect us to win this game. I try to look, and of course it pissed me off, man, because I was really, really angry at the effort. I just thought that we would have put up a way better effort, even in a losing effort. I sound like a robot here, but now that I've had a chance to calm down and talk my way through this, man, I kind of look at it as a positive experience for these young guys. They now know what it takes to win in this league consistently. And not only that, they now know what it's going to take to start winning playoff games and playoff situations. Mm-hmm. We have to keep in mind, man, that this franchise is still ahead of schedule. I know fans hate hearing that. They don't want to hear that. But we're still ahead of schedule, man, and I'm trying to look at it that way. Like, this can only be a positive for the young guys going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the things that is important to note that we seem to forget, this is the first ever playing game in the history of the NBA, the first one ever, and I don't think the players really knew how to approach that. Indiana, having been a playoff team before, like. Right. Last season, knew, okay, we're going to approach this like a playoff game because that's essentially what it is. If we lose, there is no tomorrow. I don't think the Hornets really understood that. It could be that James Borrego himself didn't understand that. I mean, of course, they all know it, but to know something and to understand, okay, this is what you got to do. It's 2 completely different things. And, like you said, we forget this team is ahead of schedule. ESPN's BPI predicted the Hornets would only win 21 games this season. Las Vegas, all the major books at Vegas had the Hornets at under 25 wins. They've overachieved a bit, and they would have really overachieved if they had stayed healthy. So I think sometimes a young team needs a loss like this.
Yeah.
This is going to sting. It's going to hurt all off season, especially for competitive guys like Miles and Terry. Miles Bridges ain't gonna sleep for like the next 3 days.
Yeah, not right. Yeah,
right. He's gonna call Melo up and be like, let's get in the gym."
Yeah. So, look. Ironically, ESPN notification just popped up on my phone. What are the Hornets going to do in the offseason? Again, we'll get to that Sunday, man. I want to save something for Sunday, man. I wanted to, one player that we have not talked about so far is Devontae Graham. He was 1 for 8 tonight, 1 for 7 for 3 with 4 points, man. I told Vince the same thing tonight. I'm going to say sometimes I get tired of being right. Let me tell you where I'm coming from. Sunday, I said this team is too reliant on 2 or 3 players in the fourth quarter. Right after the game, watch the game. Terry Rozier said, "Our offense has become a little too predictable." How do you feel about that, Kaiser?
Well, he's right. The problem is that
who else you going to depend on?
Right, yeah. Sometimes predictability is good. If the other team can't stop me from doing something, I mean, you play Madden.
Yeah.
You'll run halfback sweep 52 times in a row.
I'm going to run that wide receiver cross until they stop me. Right.
You're going to get that drag route all game until you finally stop it. Teams weren't able to stop it. It was the same thing. Terry to the high pick and roll, Terry to the corner. I mean, that was all game, and it was working. So he's right, but at the same time, it's like okay, Terry, we did it, but the coach has drawn up these predictable plays, and you missing the wide open shot. So something's got to give. Either.
Speaking of coaching, so glad you brought that up. We had a comment early in the chat, and it was basically saying that games like this could put Borrego in the hot seat. How much credence do you give to that?
Michael Jordan is not that knee jerk to allow one game over the course of a season to determine whether or not a coach. Right.
let's not forget that it happened when we played Miami in Game 7 a few seasons ago, man. They didn't let Steve Clifford walk off of that. I think typically coaches get let go when they lose a team. And when I say lose a team, they lose a team over an extended a period of time, or if there's turmoil in the locker room. Mike Dunlap lost his job because he could not control the locker room. They literally hated that man's guts. Larry Brown was fired because he literally lost a team. That team was getting beat by 30 and 40 points over a week stretch. Guys, we're not there yet. I know a lot of fans hate James Borrego because he doesn't play LaMelo Ball 50 minutes a game. I know you hate James Borrego because you don't understand the different lineups, but we are so not there yet. He has not lost his team. I hate to sound like Ron Rivera, but we picked a bad time to get really cold. We picked the worst time of the year to start playing our worst basketball.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, like I said, after April 2nd, the day Gordon Hayward went down with the injury, the Hornets were never the same. And mainly because, during that time, we had a lot of people injured at the same time. Malik Monk was just, he was coming on. He was getting hot. Looked like the guy that we all want him to be. He goes down. Hayward goes down. PJ goes down. Terry goes down. Devontae develops a sore knee. He's in and out of games. It just, it's just one of those things that happen. And I understand that every team has injuries, but some team, the injury gods bless them in that their injuries happen at the beginning of the season, rather than at the end of the season, where if you have a team that has built team chemistry, the end of the season, there's just going to be a stronger team, no matter how talented they aren't. So.
I want to answer a question one of our chat guests is asking. Maxton Artis is asking, do you think the Hornets are too reliant on the three? I want to answer that first. I kind of do. I wish there was a tad bit more diversity in our offense. However, with the way that this roster is set up, they have to play like that right now. Unless you go get a guy who I hate to sound like a broken record, but unless you go get a big man who is a post-up guy who can do a little more offensively than what Biz and Cody can do, that's what this team has to be right now. To answer your question, yes, I do believe they rely on the three. And when that three's not going, they look really crappy most of the time. So I do think they are a little reliant on it.
Yeah, the Hornets actually shoot like middle of the pack. They're like 14th in the league in 3-point percentage. They're a little better than the league average, which is 35%. They shoot 36%. So they're not like a terrible 3-point shooting team, but they are far too reliant on it. And by that I mean they will take a bad three instead of
before they make a right.
Yeah, instead of working to get a good higher percentage shot. How many times have we seen even this game? They just come down court and just shoot up a three. If PJ Washington is behind the line and somebody passes him the ball, he's going to shoot the three, and it might not always be the best shot. So to echo what Jamal said, they need some more offensive diversity. I think the problem is that the Hornets offense, when it's clicking, is predicated on assists and movement. And teams a lot of times are able to shut that down with physical play. That's what the Indiana Pacers did.
Let me cut you off real quick.
Have been able to adjust.
Let me cut you off real quick because you're actually saying something that connects to what I was about to say. You look at Cody Zeller, who is a great pick and roll player. Like, you love him on the floor when you can run a pick and roll with Cody. The problem with that is you can't keep Cody on the floor when there's a bigger, bulkier, more physical center on the floor because you worry about Cody rebounding the ball and defensively. So it's just kind of like if we had Cody in a Hassan Whiteside body and if he was that defensively, then that would even make our offense even better because you could keep a guy like that on the floor even more.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The Hornets got to figure out, and this is something kind of to address that question, which players is he taking the league next season? Obviously LaMelo Ball, but as he understands the NBA game more, he will learn how to better manipulate defenses so that they cannot do things like be physical and knock the Hornets off the route, so to speak. What Indiana does, if they disrupt our screen and roll game, we got nothing. Then we're That's why the Hornets are stuck trying to play hero ball and shooting, 3-pointers when they don't need it. That might take a little bit of coaching philosophy change as well. We do know that Borrego loves for the Hornets to shoot the three. And I keep thinking back to that New York Knicks game and the last shot Devontae Graham took. I know that Devontae Graham gets a lot of criticism for his late game decision making and some of the mistakes he has made in late game. But he shot an open three. It was fair. It was open enough, as open as you're going to get in the NBA, and he missed it. And a lot of people are like, "Well, hey, it was open three. You got to take it." And I'm like, "No, you don't. The game was tied.
Right.
He had an open lane. Why not in that case take the high percentage shot?" Now I understand it's the heat of the moment, and NBA players rely on muscle memory, and Devontae Graham is a shooter, so he's going to shoot it. But I do think that's one of those things where the coaching philosophy might have to change a little bit. Don't give everyone the green light. Not everyone should have the green light. The Hornets don't have enough pure shooters to just be able to shoot as many threes as they do. We'll see. I'm really more interested in Borrego making the league next season rather than some of these players.
Yeah, me too, man. Because according to half of our fan base, Borrego's going to be fired by tomorrow. But
Danny Thompson says that was the play design, and that's likely true. But if you have a chance to have something better, see, the play was designed that way, primarily because I don't think they designed it thinking Devontae Graham is going to have a wide open three. If that was the case, you'd run that play every time. In that situation, I think it's okay for a player to say, it's a tie game. I can take a much better shot than the one the play is designed. I mean, that's all hindsight, but I do think that, like I said before, I think sometimes I think the Hornets are just too reliant on the big shot.
I want to we're going to get out of here in a minute, man, because I do want to save some stuff for Sunday, but there's one more question I want to get to before we do get out of here, man. Do you think that at this point now, do you think we should have just sat LaMelo Ball for the rest of the season when he got hurt? Or is that hindsight thinking?
Heck no. This experience was good for LaMelo Ball. This experience was great for – you think LaMelo Ball, who we always see happy and jovial, what do you think he's doing right now? You think he's like, on his Instagram, like calling girl, hey, I'll be back in Charlotte and I'll be in LA. No, he's mad. Right now, them cats are upset. He's mad. He's thinking about, he's playing those mental reps in his head. What could I have done on the court better to help my team win? You don't get that experience by sitting on the sideline when you can play. Although I was one of the people that felt like the Hornets should have been safe with LaMelo Ball's wrist, but ultimately I think it ended up being the right moves, and they show why they're professionals in the NBA, and I'm just a guy on Facebook.
Well, I said I had one more question, but I'm sorry, we have to address this too. We absolutely have to address this, man. Why in the hell are the Hornets being so tight-lipped about Gordon Hayward's injury? Dog.
We spoke about this Sunday some, and we know that teams aren't allowed to hide stuff about the player's health.
Right.
But something's up with that. Something's up.
You think?
I just don't.
Look, man. Look, guys. I don't like getting called out by Stephen A. Smith, man. I don't like getting called out on national TV.
And something's up with that. If I had to guess, because I thought about this earlier. What if this is purely conjecture, people? This is conspiracy theory shit. Okay, so
right.
But what if MJ and Mitch told the team doctors to not clear Gordon to play to ensure he is 100% healthy next season? See, they know this season is a wash. Okay, I mean, although we would have done a lot better with Gordon Hayward in the lineup late in the season, but really the ceiling was 7th seed, 8th seed, or play-in tournament.
Mm-hmm.
which we achieved anyway. If Gordon Hayward comes back and you risk and he re-injures that foot or whatever, so now the timetable is now truncated again because he's got to heal completely over the summer.
Right.
You say, you know what? Just kind of sit in the. The Warriors did this with Steph Curry, and they'll lie and say they didn't, but we know that wasn't nothing wrong with Steph Curry's hand. Wasn't nothing wrong with his hand. And he said,
"That's a great point."
Entire season with
That's
hand
a great point.
or whatever. I think the Hornets might have done the same thing. Like, you know what? Because here's another thing Hornets fans don't realize: Gordon Hayward was not supposed to be here this year. The Hornets, everyone in the league, including the Hornets, thought that he was going to take the player option in Boston.
With Boston, and then we go after him next.
We go after him this year because nobody else, at the time we thought realistically that free agent list, there's nobody on there but Gordon Hayward that would sign with us. But he turned down the player option and put himself on the market, and I think the Hornets said, okay, this is our only chance to get a big name free agent. So they moved that timetable up. So he comes here, and now they have an opportunity to – they can, keep him from other teams. They just keep him locked away in a safe while he's healing up.
they had to strike while the iron was hot, basically.
Right, yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me if the team was like, okay, just the team doctors, he's not good to go.
I mean, look, man, as crazy as the quote-unquote conspiracy theory as that sounds, I actually give it credence, man. I seriously do. And I just think the timing of him, he probably had a timetable when he was supposed to come back. Mm-hmm. And maybe that was around the second to last game of the season. And maybe at that point, they just say, why come back at this point? Who knows? Again, like Kaza said, that is only conjecture. We don't know. We don't have the inside scoop. It is just conjecture. Kaza, man, I'm going to resist the urge to keep going because we could talk about this all night, man. But I do want to save some stuff for Sunday. I actually got some shout outs. I know we don't do shout outs in the midweek, but I got some shout outs, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat room who joined us tonight, man. Again, we always love it when y'all are here. Shout out to Rodney, man. We'll see you Sunday. Shout out to Kwame Brown, man. Look, any grown man would get tired after a while, dog. Shout out to Kwame Brown. I'm so happy to see you standing up for yourself, man.
Now I see why Jordan liked him so much.
Guys, we're going to get out of here, man. Y'all check us out Sunday because we're going to have a lot more to talk about Sunday, man. This was just a little teaser. So,
the Hornets did draft the superstar to pair with Melo. His name's Miles Bridges. He's the only person that showed up tonight.
Yeah, him and Cody Zeller. Go figure.
Go Canes. Go Canes, yes.
Go Canes. Go Canes. Go Canes, yes. Guys, y'all be good to each other, man. We'll check y'all Sunday, man.
All right, peace, y'all.